Hi there, this is Tim Gowens with Summer Street Productions. Thank you for joining us today. It is a privilege to have Mr. Aaron Gray with Ford, and he's over the Ford guest experience for Ford Motor Company. Say hello there, Mr. Aaron.
Hello there, Mr. Aaron,
Yeah.
and hello there, Mr. Tim. Thank you for having me. This is so cool.
How did I know you were going to say hello, Mr. Aaron?
You just set me up, man.
I set
you teed me up,
and that's the way it goes, right? I got you. Okay, well, welcome. It's good to have you today.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being with us. It's a privilege to have you with us. We've got basically three different sections I'm going to ask you questions from, okay? And they're just basically kind of what your history is, what is FGE, how does it apply to a dealership?
Yeah.
I think our listeners will be very interested in that. So thank you again for joining us. It's great to have you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so the first area is your journey to this role and your work history. So I'm going to ask you some questions in that category. Okay?
Sure.
So can you walk us through your career path leading up to your current role at Ford Motor Company?
Sure. Well, like most paths, I think mine has been a meandering road. It's never a straight line. When I went to college, I was the first in my family to go to college and graduate.
Okay.
And so I thought it was a linear progression. I said, Dad, what do I do? He said, go to college. I said, why? He said, because you make money. Make more money than what I make. Okay. Yep. I'll do it, Dad. So, started out and I was not really sure what to do with that. I started studying things that were really interesting to me.
Right.
Studied things like anthropology.
Anthropology.
My dad called that he asked, do you want fries with that, Major Aaron? I said, Dad, what do you mean? He said, is this going to be a thing that you never can actually use in your work and in life? Yeah. I don't want to spend all this time, money, and energy getting you to school. And so in short, it was a genuine interest, though, in the way that people engage, and the way people interact.
Interesting. Okay. I got you. That's interesting. Yeah, that's good. So what key experiences prepared you for working on customer guest experiences in the automotive industry? And that's how did you take your anthropology degree and translate that into working with Ford and Ford guest experience?
Yeah. Well, I started after school. I started with a pharmaceutical company. Pharmaceutical distribution company, and I was in a leadership rotation, and I got to try different things before I went out and kind of made my journey with them.
What kind of what kind of sales was that?
Yeah, so we did all kinds. We were a distribution company. So we were the ones, I didn't care what you prescribed, I just wanted you to buy it from me.
I got you.
And so I worked with a lot of independent pharmacies throughout Florida and Georgia. It was a lot of fun. But in that, I had a rotation in the training department and really thought, wow, this is neat. I like equipping people. I like helping people. It seems a little bit more interesting to me, and it was something that I came back to.
Okay, gotcha. That's cool. What initially drew you to Ford Motor Company, and how did your prior role in your prior role influence your approach to improving the dealership's experience?
Yeah. Well, it's been said that people don't always go directly into the automotive industry. They kind of just find themselves there after some twists and some turns.
Right.
And so I left this big pharmaceutical company to work for a little tiny leadership development company.
Oh.
And
what was the name of it?
It was called Giant Impact.
Giant Impact.
And we did a lot of the content from John Maxwell, Dr. Henry Cloud, Patrick Lencioni. These were thought leaders at the time that I admired and thought, well, it seems more interested than pharmaceuticals.
Right. Okay.
Little did I know, we would be pulled into a small pilot with a little company called Ford Motor Company about customer experience. And we said, well, we don't know a thing about customer experience, but we do know about people and we do know about leadership. And they said, we think it actually is really important to what we're doing. That was about 15 years ago.
About 15 years ago. So, wow. So that's how it happened, huh?
Yeah.
That's the path. Okay. So looking back, was there a particular moment or project earlier in your time at Ford that sparked your passion for the guest experience process? Was there anything specifically that stands out, maybe when you're at Giant Impact? Giant Impact was the name of it?
The name, yeah.
When you were there, that really helped you springboard into what you're doing now?
You know what it was is when we were sent out, and we were one of 6 different companies in a pilot initiative. Disney was a part of it. Gallup was a part of it. These are big hitters in this space and industry, and a lot of other prominently known automotive consulting companies. We were a smaller leadership development firm, and kind of wondering why we were there. What really said, I think there's something here, and I think there's something I could offer the automotive space, was when people were really transformed by what we had them think about and do. You could see the impact. And this wasn't about me. This was about focusing on the human. This is focusing on what effective leadership looks like and how to develop others.
Right.
And kind of an upside down approach from I'm the one who's in charge to actually I'm here to serve.
Right.
Great leaders will serve. Great leaders will be there to eliminate and remove any obstacles if and when they can.
Right.
And so it just really changed the paradigm, and I started to learn then that that's something that's necessary or can be very valuable and helpful in the automotive space.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That's really great. How has your perspective on customers' experience evolved over your tenure at Ford, especially as the industry has shifted toward more digital and hospitality-focused interactions? What would you say about that?
Yeah, great. When I first started, I thought it was all about training people what to do.
Right.
They just don't know what to do. We just got to train them, and that will be it. Then we're done here.
Right.
Well, we've been working on that for over 100 years in the automotive industry.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a know-how problem. It's a want-to problem oftentimes.
Well, that's insightful.
Yeah. A lot of times I know what to do, but for some other reason I want to do something different. And it's in that space where teams either become aligned and succeed and thrive, or they really stay stagnant. They stay stuck.
How do you influence someone's want to?
It's a great question. The short answer is you can't.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, that's a simplistic answer.
Right.
Just because we can't doesn't mean we don't ask.
Right.
Oftentimes leaders forget to ask the question, what is it that you want?
Right.
To their team members.
Right.
You might learn that your team member who's struggling, you think is solely motivated by money and you can't afford to pay them more. They actually just want more time.
Right.
They want to spend more time with their kid.
Right.
And they would take a pay cut to go and be able to make baseball practice once a week.
Yeah.
And so if we don't ask those questions, we don't know.
Right.
And what we often do as human beings is we assume that others have the same motives that we do.
Right.
Same motives, same motivators.
We view them through our own lens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our own lens. And it's human nature and it makes sense.
Right.
And what I've seen and noticed in the customer experience in the dealerships and automotive and really organizations that are more evolved, they're able to look through multiple lenses.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
They're able to create pathways for people to be successful other than just one traditional route.
So there's multiple paths to success.
There's multiple paths to success. Right. There's multiple paths to motivating people and to finding out their why.
And every team has its own unique path, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And with that, the leadership has got to figure out what their team's path is and be committed to success by helping them achieve that.
Yeah, so number one, leaders need to know themselves to lead themselves.
Know themselves to lead themselves, right.
Number two, I've got to know others to lead others. And I think it's changed a lot. You mentioned the changing industry, and life has just changed. I mean, it's the understatement of the century. But now we need to know at an even deeper level what motivates and what makes our team members unique. Not to just be nice. I love being nice, Tim. But frankly, nice doesn't pay the bills all the time.
Right.
Nice doesn't always translate into profitability.
Right.
And I know that if my clients can't stay profitable, they're not going to be around for me to be nice to. Okay, so we need to first and foremost make sure we're talking about performance, not being nice. But when I understand what my team needs from me, what they need to do their best work, what motivates them, what kind of discourages them.
Right.
If I'm really wise, I can look at all those players on my team and decide, you know what, this person maybe isn't a quarterback. They might be a better wideout. And let's figure that out. Let's see, can we create a path for them to be the best wideout that they can be?
Yeah.
Still by performing at a high level and by making a lot of money.
Everybody has their strengths, their uniqueness, and putting them in a situation where their uniqueness and their strength can flourish.
That's right.
I think is the key to a happy team, don't you think?
Absolutely, it's so key. And if you can't list, and I'm not talking about the Strengths Finder survey, although I would recommend that book and that assessment to everyone. It's
Do you happen to know the author or more about that?
So Tim Rath.
Tim
Rath, and this comes from the Gallup organization. There's another gentleman called Marcus Buckingham who has made pretty popular and famous and wrote some really great books around utilizing people's strengths. What we do in the automotive industry typically, and you know this, maybe you've seen this in other walks of life, but certainly in automotive, we take the best performer and we make them a leader.
Yep.
We say, hey, you're number one salesperson. Great. You know what? You need to become the sales manager and just recreate that.
Right.
Well, I see this often. Michael Jordan was a lousy basketball coach. He's the greatest player of all time, arguably.
Right.
And not necessarily a great coach. So those two things don't equal one another. And what we really need to do is understand how is our team uniquely wired and where do we need those strengths? I've worked with leadership teams often before where they don't understand their strengths, and it's really revealing to see, hey, we're really good at this execution type of skill set, but we really struggle with this contemplative skill set. We really struggle with making a long-term commitment decision.
Right.
And so it's awareness. So, right, we have to know ourselves, we have to know our team before we can lead our team.
That's great. In light of what we've just talked about, the digital hospitality.
Yeah.
Okay. AI. Have you seen any of these AI kiosks that have an image of an AI person that says, "Hi, welcome to the Krause Family Ford.
Yeah.
How can I assist you today?" That's kind of an upcoming thing.
Yeah.
And how do you think that's going to affect people's experience with the dealership?
Yeah.
Do you have any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. Because AI, if you're not paying attention, if we're not paying attention to AI, then we're asleep at the wheel. So if your listeners are listening, they need to push pause and go Google AI if they're not familiar with it, okay? But AI is transforming the way we do things and...
Everything, isn't it?
Everything.
I mean, literally everything in life is going to be transformed by AI.
Absolutely. This is the internet times 1,000.
Right.
And for a long time, dealerships thought, no one will ever buy a car online. No one's going to buy a car without seeing it. Well, that's kind of how a lot of people buy. In fact, what we're finding is more and more people prefer to buy cars that way.
And they prefer it because why? The experience that they're having at the dealership is so bad that they don't want to expose themselves to that or their family to that.
That's right.
So I know what you're doing is important.
Oftentimes that is the case. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Or my perception of it is that it's going to be so bad, so I don't even want to come in the first place.
Right.
What's interesting, though, and again, know yourself, lead yourself, know others, lead others, know your customers and lead them. Not every customer wants to come in and be best friends with me. I have to understand that.
Right.
But what they do need is they need my expertise at the right point of contact.
Yeah.
So when you talk about where AI will change and impact the guest experience, it will absolutely continue to do so. And my bet will be it will be the organizations that understand their value proposition very well, know exactly why you'd come to them over any of their competitors, and can continue to live that out. They'll just do that better with AI.
Right.
They might say, you know what, this AI solution is not for us because it doesn't align with who we are in our value proposition.
Right.
Or it might be the best thing ever, and it allows their team members to focus on more high value, high impact exercises or activities with their guests.
Putting the people where they belong, where their strengths are, letting them exercise within their framework or their strengths, and letting AI handle some of the things that we don't want to do, right?
Yep.
Right.
The common thinking is the high repetitive, low risk tasks that happen in a dealership.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those, right? There's a lot of things. Leads come in and we immediately respond, and we take human beings and we try to put them in places of computers, and now we have these fantastic tools that can help us be more human.
Yeah.
And it will be the dealership, this is my bet, is that it will be the dealerships and the organizations that remember to be human while leveraging AI.
While leveraging AI, You know, like here at the studio, I know that the recording studio environment is being drastically changed by AI in an incredible way. So I can either accept that, or I can, say, oh, we're just always going to do it the way we've always done it, and then, go out of business, right, eventually.
Well, and that's actually the reality of things, is if people are committed to doing things the way that they've always worked, there's a good chance you might find yourself a little obsolete and find it more difficult to compete.
I heard the story of the horsewhip company that refused to go out of business. We're always going to be able to sell. There'll always be horse and carriages, and we'll always need horsewhips. Do you have a horsewhip? I don't have a horsewhip.
I don't. I'd like one, just for fun, maybe to keep my kids in line.
Yeah.
But it started there, and it continues to happen with companies like Kodak, who said, people, we own this market. Yeah. And I think
there'll always be film. There'll always be a need for cameras, right?
For sure. And what's interesting is there still is.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my favorite pictures from my last vacation are from a little instant camera that were printed out, Polaroid camera, yeah. But Kodak refused to pay attention to what was happening in the digital space and said, that's not something we're just not going to go there.
Okay, so for the listeners unfamiliar with guest experience, can you explain what Ford's guest experience program is and its core philosophy, especially how it treats customers as guests rather than the traditional buyer? What's the difference between a buyer and a guest mentality?
Yeah, so guest, if you think about a valued guest in your home, you might do things differently for them. You might do a little bit of tidying up before they get there. You might have their favorite drink on hand, ready to go. You may have even thought about things that you want to bring up with them because you value them and you want that connection time to be so important. That's why we're shifting from customer or even client to guest. Guest puts a different lens on it. Now, guests are different. Some guests want to spend the night at my house, for example. Some guests are just stopping by for a quick cup of coffee and that's it. What I have to do is to be able to understand what type of guest am I dealing with and how do I create an experience for them, not a one size fits all.
You know, the thing that I think is core to that, maybe that Ford wouldn't say, is there's no selfishness there, right? You're more concerned about that person's comfort and what they're experiencing with you in your home rather than, I don't want them to come over or whatever, whatever we have a tendency sometimes to think about our guests. But I think that's the core of it, is caring about people, right?
It is, and the sense of customers tends to make us think about, do they have money to give me for my service or my product?
Right.
Okay, yes, at some point there needs to be some sort of transaction again, but what we've seen over the years is the experience go poorly because individuals and organizations are so focused on that transaction.
Right, yeah. And that's the goal, is to get them away from the focus of the transaction to the experience that the guest is going to have with that person, with me.
Yeah.
That's good. In what ways has the Great Experience program directly influenced the dealership's reputation in the eyes of customers, community, and even online reviews? So what have your experience training other dealers, how has it affected them and the opinion of that dealership within the community? How has that changed?
Yeah, well, it really starts one interaction at a time.
It does.
I wish I had a silver bullet and say, this is the one thing you do and it fixes everything. The reality is you have to really invest in the mindset of, we are here to serve our guests. Serving a guest might mean that I don't get what I want out of this interaction. And that's a little counterintuitive in the automotive industry.
It is, isn't it?
It's not so much trained, or we tend to lean towards this, what can you do for me right now? And I understand that. And that's a real pressure that leaders and owners of dealerships face day in, day out. So I'm not here to minimize and say, well, don't worry about making money.
Yeah, because all the dealers are so driven. I mean, they have huge expenses that they have to cover. So there's pressure on the leadership team to go. Let's go.
Right.
We got to get the money in the door, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's tough.
And it's very real, and it's easy for me to talk about. It's a lot different when you live in it day in, day out. That pressure is immense.
That's right.
And I would say the old way of doing that is just not, the returns are fewer than they were before.
Yeah.
We want people that want to come back and tell their friends.
Right.
That's the holy grail of business for thousands of years is, hey, I like doing business with you. And you ought to talk to my friend. You ought to talk to my neighbor down the street.
Right.
We know that. But the way that happens, there's such competition out there that it's really, it's just as much, did I get the right product and service?
Okay, for our next question here. Beyond training, what practical tools or processes have been proven most effective in rolling out guest experience at the dealership level? What are some proven effective tools that you're using to roll out the FGE program at a dealer?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we do have a lot of tools and different resources that we can share, and they are valuable. I personally prefer to start with mindset and really principles. And that's a little squishy for some. That's a little, it can be difficult to place but I really think we have to adjust our mindset to what we think is actually going to deliver the results that we want.
That's really good.
Because I think if the answer was just do more of what we're doing, it would be a lot easier to do. We'd find quicker, faster ways to do that. And we should for the things that are high value, low risk type of things.
Right.
But what about the things that are high risk, like relationship? Like I'm tempted every day to send an email that's just AI generated and I don't even read it. That's my mentality. And yet that's a high risk environment because I'm connecting with or not another human being, another person that I might be able to serve, I might be able to help. So I have to shift my mindset from just doing more and being faster to how do I make the most of this guest interaction?
I think being fast in our society does translate into being ineffective, don't you think? I'm very guilty of that. I like to get things done very quickly. So sometimes I will go too fast at something. And the experience that people are having with me is that I'm impatient, right? I want to just get it done, get out of my way kind of thing. So I understand what you're saying. That's good.
Yeah, and there are tools like AI that can help us to be more reflective and more thoughtful in the things that actually do require time and faster in the other ones. To your question about tools, we start by, one thing I love about the Ford guest experience is that we start by asking a lot of questions. If I were a doctor and you came to see me and I said, Tim, don't tell me anything, I know exactly what you got, here's what you need, take this and call me in the morning, that's borderline malpractice.
Yeah.
So for me and the others like me that are doing this role, that are part of this initiative, we first have to ask a lot of questions. And we have to be patient.
Yeah.
These things like culture, dare I say culture, they fall in the urgent, or they fall in the important but not urgent category, like exercise or saving money or these things that are not calling for attention right now.
Right.
But if we put them off, they slowly start to move out of that category of non-urgent to urgent.
Right.
So we didn't develop our team members. We didn't train them because we didn't have time for that. But shoot, now we're stuck with a whole team that's not trained, doesn't know what they're doing, and they're leaving like crazy.
Yeah.
That now just became an urgent problem that we need to fix right now, today.
Right.
And certain things can be fixed that way. But as we were talking earlier about the analogy of a tree and culture, you can't microwave a tree into becoming a tree or into bearing fruit. It's just not how it works. You have to invest in it differently. And I think my hope is that tools like AI can actually help us to find time to lean into those more value-added, high-touch things that really add and make a difference versus just get more of the stuff done. Because at some point, more is not the answer.
You know, I think a lot of dealers are more focused on the fruit of the tree rather than working on the soil. Yeah. Do you understand the analogy?
I do.
They're more, they want the fruit, they want more sales, they want more parts and service and successful vehicles pushed across the line and things like that. But they're not willing or don't think of the importance of working on the soil. What do you think I mean by the soil?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic metaphor. And when I think about investing in the soil of a tree or an organization, I think about an entire garden, really.
Right.
So does that soil have the right nutrients that it needs?
Right.
Sometimes, oftentimes in farming, and I'm not a farmer or a gardener for that matter, but oftentimes you have to stop planting. You have to give the land a chance to regenerate.
Right.
Or you have to add something that's not there, something that maybe has never been there.
Right.
But it's constant measurement and testing of that soil
Yeah.
to make sure you're going to later on get this fruit.
Get the fruit that you're after, right?
It's very, very seldom is it an instant return.
Yeah.
And that is why I think these topics can frustrate leaders who are high achievers, get things done. And again, a lot in automotive is this. What have we done today? And I understand that, and I actually love that.
Pressure of it right now, right?
Right. But, and if we're not careful, we forget to do the long-term investment things in our soil, like
that's right.
Add nutrients, add some things that we're missing. And you know what I'm seeing now more and more? If you looked at a garden and there were 5 million plants in it, you'd say, what are you trying to do here?
Right.
You wouldn't have any good fruit, right? In theory, if we kind of run with this analogy, you wouldn't have any fruit. You would have just a bunch of stuff. It looked like a jungle.
It's unkept.
Unkempt, yeah.
Right.
It'd be. Is that a weed or a plant? I don't know. We're
Yeah.
just throwing everything in, and we're seeing what grows, and we're
Right.
letting. And I've been a part of organizations, frankly, that have done that.
Yeah.
And what you end up is nobody wins really. You kind of
Yeah.
get stuff done, and maybe you produce an apple here and a cucumber here, but nothing becomes award winning. Nothing becomes world renowned or world class. And this is an analogy that comes from Dr. Henry Cloud. He talks about the idea of pruning to grow. Pruning is the idea of removing things that are bad. I mean, of course, you want to weed your garden.
Sure, of course.
But
And by the way, every garden has weeds,
has
right?
weeds, for sure. And this is where the analogy does break down. I'm a lot quicker to pull a weed out of my garden than I am to maybe fire an employee or to work with somebody. That said, we still have to address it in a similar way. Still has the same.
Yeah.
same
That's really good. That's really good. What kind of results have you seen from implementing the program, the FGE program, whether in customer satisfaction, scores, or loyalty metrics, or perhaps repeat business, or KPIs, key performance indicators, or more importantly, in Krause Family Ford's CSI, Customer Service Index? Have you seen some improvements in those areas? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, CSI is such a critical metric, and it's something we always have to be paying attention to. And a lot of times what we see, Tim, is an initial boost. Everybody starts talking about it, thinking about it, they're focused on it. And then what we'll see sometimes is a dip, actually. What this means is we're changing our behaviors, and it's really catching up with us. We're figuring out that to do those things, we might have to change how we do them as well. So not to dissuade anyone from engaging, but what we'll see is an initial jump oftentimes. And then those organizations that make that long-term jump, they change it into a way of being versus let's focus on the score and get the score for a little while.
Right. I got you. Interesting.
More valuable than that, though, because CSI is important, but it's a lagging indicator. It's not a leading indicator, in my opinion.
What do you think is the leading indicator?
I think the leading indicator, frankly, is team health.
Team health.
Team health. Now, before you turn me off or shut down the listeners dial away, I'm not talking about happy employees sitting around playing ping pong all day long. What I'm talking about is, do I have the skills, resources, and ability to do the job that is put before me? Am I very clear on how to do that? And can I do it over and over and over again? I mean, that's what a business is. It's a system that produces results, right? And we think the best businesses are the more predictable results.
Right.
And so what we have to do is make sure that our team members are crystal clear on what's expected of them.
Okay.
What do they do? I have a friend from New Orleans that says, tell me what a pound of good looks like. Show me how do I play this game of business, and how do I succeed? How do I win? Make that clear for me.
Yeah.
And then we start seeing long-term change. And we've had others say, yep, we won our first President's Award through Ford because of this initiative or this experience.
Wow. Yeah, that would be very important. Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Okay. That's outstanding. That's great. Can you share any standout success stories or data points where a dealership's reputation noticeably improved after embracing the guest experience process that you're wanting to implement?
Yeah. What we see all the time is leaders, individuals, they for lack of a better term, they just kind of get it one day. They start to change, and they notice a change in their team. I'll give you an example. I was working with a fleet manager, so fleet sales, and he said, I'm going to work with my team this year, and I've set goals for them for the last 15 years. And this year, I'm just going to ask them, what do you think your goals should be? And they're going to talk to me about it, justify it. And he said, without exception, every single person came back and were harder on themselves than I would have been. He said, I thought they would have just been lazy. I thought I had to get on them and keep them
That's
focused.
interesting. Yeah.
An interesting approach. I'm not saying that works for all people at all times. That's not what I'm prescribing here. What I am saying is this leader was traditionally brought up in a top-down command and control approach. And what he started to see was asking questions and engaging his team as the valued team members that they are. They were challenging themselves more and getting better business results because of it.
That's very interesting. Yeah. That's really cool. That's great.
I don't even remember your question at this
Yeah.
point.
No, that's okay. That was an answer. That was great. Just sharing success stories or someone that stands out in your
Yeah.
mind about how they changed and how it affected the the group.
Yeah.
Another section we're going to get into here is cultural changes at dealerships. Let's talk about cultural changes, essential tools, and overall impact. Okay, so how has the guest experience program changed day-to-day culture inside a Ford dealership? So from sales teams, like specifically sales teams or service advisors or leadership, how has have you seen some specifics about specific changes, and can you give us some examples?
Yeah. What's really fun, Tim, is to see when teams embrace this and they almost treat it as a new metric or a new competition instead of just, did we sell a car today? They try to find out, did we surprise and delight someone today? Did we create a wow moment? Did someone say, wait, this is a car dealership? Did we surprise them in a way that they were not expecting, that created a moment or an experience for them? Oftentimes the outputs of those types of experiences, almost always there's some sort of transactional benefit to the dealership. So it's not just altruistic, but it's when we can stop focusing only on that transaction that we think about what would be different here? How could we differentiate ourselves? Because last time I checked, other people sell and fix cars. There's not just one dealership. Even if I'm committed to the Ford product, there's many, many Ford dealerships. And they're not all going to be for me. But those that can connect with my needs and really explain, understand, they sort of create a competition of it. And so you start to see this healthy culture of, hey, you're not going to believe this. Someone's coming in. And I remember this detail about what they said 6 months ago. Watch this.
Yeah.
That's when you start to see, wow, okay. Now we're talking about
I can't believe you remembered that I like a Pontiac GTO and I had a '69 Pontiac, whatever the conversation was.
Absolutely.
And that impresses people, doesn't it? They feel like you remembered them.
Yeah.
And that they're important enough for you to put that data back in your mind and be able to pull that forward.
That's right. That's right. And the smartest organizations aren't going to do it in a way like this. They're not going to say, hey, Tim, I know you like pickles on your hot dog. I remember that. Remember that? And it has no context.
Right.
They're going to subtly remember ways to create surprise and delight moments.
Right. That's
so
good.
when we're at lunch, I'm going to maybe ask for a side of special pickles that I know, because this is a goofy analogy.
Yeah.
There's better ways to do it.
Right.
But in tangent, to be more specific, in the service experience, there's so much that we can learn from people's cars, right?
Yeah.
If you looked in my vehicle right now, you'd see things and notice things. I didn't realize you had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're into camping, and it looks like you had that North Georgia. You must have been to a Georgia park. You've got that brochure in your front desk. These are elements of who I am, not about my car. I mean, I want you to fix my car.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. When I come to see it, I hope you can fix it and help me keep it for a while. But it's what I'm using the car to do. And it's those organizations that will look deeper at the behind the meeting and then store it. We've never had the capability to store and access information ever before like we do today.
Yeah.
And so smart organizations will capture that, so it's not just me as the individual rock star, but when that customer leaves my sales desk and comes to you in service, that experience of being known is still there.
Follows. Yeah.
Follows.
That's great. That's really great. What shifts in mindset, thinking, okay, or behavior, which of course, behavior is the byproduct of what we think, right? What shifts in mindset or behavior have you observed among dealership staff as they've adopted the hospitality first approach? In other words, people come in and everybody's committed to the experience that customer that's walking is going to have, and they're committed to it because they now understand the importance of having giving that person that they don't know an experience with them. Everybody's committed to it. That's a shift in mindset rather than, I got to get this guy. I got to make my house payment today. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody's so driven by making money that they forget the most important thing is that person's experience with them, right? Yeah. So when that has happened, what happens to the dealership?
Yeah, well, so first there's a reality that if I, as a human being, am put in a position where to survive, to pay my mortgage, to feed my family, these are survival things that are really important to me, I will do a lot of different things to make sure that happens. Right. And you're talking now not about the prefrontal cortex. We're talking about our limbic system, our brain, our lizard or reptilian brain, right? That says fight or flight, freeze or fawn. What do we need to do here? Do we need to lean in? How do I put money or food on the table ultimately? And that's a real thing that's going on. And I am not recommending people change pay plans. I do recommend that people look at their pay plans and make sure that their incentives are incenting the right behavior.
That's good.
So
how does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, if I'm incented simply to move a vehicle, regardless of what their experience is and the long-term value of the dealership, I could probably do that and figure out how to do that multiple times. And I'm really smart. I'm going to figure out how to work that plan. However, there are other things that are important in that guest experience. It's not only that transaction. Because if you think of the guest experience, the sales experience is about this big.
Yeah.
The overall ownership experience is about 5 to 6 years, depending on what you look at. And so what am I only incenting that transaction, or am I incenting a longer term relationship? And some people are put in that position each and every day of, yeah, I'd love to get to know more about you, but I know that I have about 5 minutes to understand if you're going to buy a car or not. And I've got about 10 minutes before someone's going to be coming and engaging and interacting. And so I'm just operating in the system that's there.
Yeah.
So I am not by any means saying commission is bad. And I'm not saying competition is bad. I think they're fantastic. I think we always, though, have to ask ourselves, the behaviors that we're paying for, we're incenting, are they going to get us to where we need to go? I've seen organizations change their approach in a lot of ways, from an individual competitive space to a team competitive space. So we're on a team together, and this happens organically in dealerships a lot of times, where a good friend will cover for me if I'm out, and we'll kind of take care of each other. And so it's not a completely unprecedented idea. It's just, are we formalizing it? Are we maximizing the goodness that can come of that?
Yeah. So in terms of tooling, taking someone that's never done this, that's only been driven by dollars and cents.
Yeah.
What kind of tools do you have in your toolbox that you like to try to teach people to use to change their mindset? Were there specific things that you try to do when you're at a dealership and you're working with staff or leadership that you're trying to accomplish in terms of tools or teaching? Things you're trying to help them to accomplish?
Yeah, I think so first off, I'm very careful not to prescribe too quickly, as we've talked about, right? And so even though I might have a case study of a dealership that's very similar in your size, very similar in terms of volume, all those things, that doesn't mean it's going to work for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to avoid the question as much as I'm trying to say, let's have a real life example of what it looks like when I am only playing the game the way that I win, but the game is set up for you to lose. That is not all commission structures, but a simple, overly simplistic pay plan can get us simple behaviors.
Yeah, right.
And so it's a really no. So when you say tools, I don't have, this is the way you should change your compensation model, because frankly, I don't know your business. I don't know your team to the depths that you do. I could never be that expert that you are. But let's look at this. Let's identify. And so what I'm going to do in terms of tools is ask a lot of good questions, a lot of powerful questions. Identify things, trends, behavioral things that you're seeing. Ask you ultimately, what behavior are we trying to see, and are we getting it?
Yeah, so it's almost a tailor-made suit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge here, is that I wish, and it would be easier for everyone if we had a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, it's not that.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I got you. That's very interesting. Okay, got it. Some challenges. Let's talk about some challenges that you've had at dealerships trying to implement change in people's thinking. What are some things that are traditionally the most common things that you see? In terms of challenges for changing people's mindset.
For big systemic changes.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes hundreds of thousands of reasons why they shouldn't change in the forms of dollars, right? And a lot of times we're challenging people that have made their entire career in doing things one way, and it's a big ask to ask an adjustment. it's a big risky decision to change. And so I think that is at its core one of the bigger challenges, is because I think,
Is it fear? Do you think it's fear-based?
a lot of it's fear-based.
In other words, they're not wanting to change because they know it may affect their pay plan and their ability to keep up, with the Joneses, or, their wife may
Yeah.
want a certain level of money every month, right?
Yeah,
I think there's probably some fear-based, right? Some
for
challenges
sure,
to that, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because I know what I can do and have relatively predictive results.
Right.
And you're saying do something different. And by the way, you're kind of potentially threatening my livelihood. Can I take my wife out for dinner, or are we eating ramen noodles?
Right.
Can I put those kids in a good school that I've been trying, or maybe I still have to keep that up? And so the risk of changing the behavior seems almost insurmountable.
Mm-hmm. What tools does Ford have some tools to help overcome those kind of fears?
Ford has put together a lot of really good thought starter type of conversations that we
Okay.
engage in.
Okay.
And so they're powerful questions. One of the tools that we have that we go through with folks is an in-depth quantitative assessment of their organization. So that's the survey. We'll ask a lot of different questions, ultimately looking for kind of a net promoter score. Would you recommend this as a place to work? And would you recommend this as a place to do business?
Yeah.
If our team members don't feel that way, that's where we first start and say, well, that's interesting that somebody who works at the dealership might recommend you come and see me at sales, but don't come and see me in the service department, or don't go see the service department. I wouldn't recommend that to a friend. It's very telling. We then will get into tools and look at things like our Google snapshots. So we partner with Google to understand the presence online, which is incredibly valuable, very data driven, something that I and individual stores really struggle to do. They pull a complete analysis. But ultimately what it will come down to is the store saying, this is who we are, this is who we want to become. Are we going to do it or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Are we committed to the things that we need to do to change, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. You have done a spectacular job answering all these questions today. Thank you so much for being with us. I got one more question for you. Looking ahead, okay, how do you see the guest experience program continuing to evolve? And what advice would you give dealerships aiming to prioritize reputation and culture through customer-centered or centric initiatives?
I would give other dealerships this advice. I would say behavioral change as an individual takes a long time. As an organization, it takes even longer. Now, that is not to say be patient. It's going to take 20 years, because we don't have 20 years to do it. Okay.
Right.
But there will be a lot of discomfort early on.
Yeah.
There will be some points where you go, why are we doing this? Is it worth it? We might even see a dip in performance. As I mentioned, there's a change curve that can happen. If I'm trying to lead in a different way, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
If I have to write my name with my left hand, I'm going to stink at it for the first few times, right? And then it's going to take time. But what we see is the longer term investment often does pay off. Now, here's what I would say too. If you're not investing in it, in this initiative, day in, day out, and I'm not saying you change your business model to simply do this, but if you're not bought in and you're not providing direction to the folks like me, you're probably going to get something that doesn't really have your fingerprints on it.
Yeah.
You're going to get something that is not bad. It won't be bad, I promise you that. But it might not be great. And it could, at worst, just be another thing in your garden, another bush that's growing in there, and just we don't know where it's going.
Another bush in the garden. Why is it there? Right. Yeah. Well, in closing, do you have anything else you'd like to say to those listeners? Thank you for joining. Is there anything else on your heart that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would just say that this work is really important to me, because I have had some pretty tough jobs, crummy jobs, bad cultures. I've seen family members struggle through these different things, and so this isn't as much as a business platform for me as much as it feels a bit like a calling. In that I know that if we can make an impact on the way people live their day today, in their business to place business, that not only is it good for business, good for profits, it's good for people.
Right.
So I get excited about that.
Right. Well, thank you again so much for being with us. This is the Krause Family for Beyond the Lot podcast. So thank you for joining. This is also recorded at Summer Street Productions, located in Kennesaw, Georgia. Thank you again, Aaron. Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much for being
Thanks for
with
having
us.
me
It was
today.
great having you. Thank you.
Thank you.